Welcome back to Breakdown. JJ, March 18th, 2024. Can you feel the madness?
The Ides of March are upon us. I feel it.
You feel the madness. Collective insanity. That's what it is. Everybody got their bracket. So, JJ, SEC Big Ten, how did they do in the selection committee?
Yeah, SEC led the way. They had the most bids of any conference.
Tied
with the Big 12. They had 8 bids. None that were a 1 seed, but they did get a 2 seed, Tennessee.
Okay.
The Big Ten only had 6 bids. 1 seed, and a 3 seed, and then,
The first round got a couple of Big Ten SEC teams meeting each other.
Yeah, there will be some Big Ten and SEC teams meeting each other in the first round.
Before we get to those teams that are playing, just in general, does the SEC or the Big Ten have any qualms with the selection committee in your mind?
No, the Big East is a conference that starts with Big that has some issues with the selection committee. They only got 3 teams in, but the Big Ten got 6 teams in, and I don't think anyone's crying foul for anyone that didn't get in.
Okay.
If anything, I think they're talking about the seeding of some of the Big Ten teams. I think some of them they expected to sneak in that got in a little bit safer than we were anticipating.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the first game Thursday.
The first game Thursday.
The very first game Thursday will feature Tom Izzo for his, 27th straight time?
I believe that's correct.
26 straight time. 26 straight bids to the tournament. Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all. Who's he going up against?
They're going up against Mississippi State. MSU versus MSU. Who you got?
The 8 seed versus the 9 seed. That is the question. A lot of people didn't think Michigan State were going to qualify for a 9 seed based on the way that they ended the season with their 14 losses. I think Michigan State would be favored in this game over Mississippi State. Mississippi State has a dynamic freshman point guard who is like a jitterbug, 5'8", great shooter. But I don't think Mississippi State has the experience that Michigan State does.
Mississippi State is plus 1.5.
Okay, so Michigan State is favored.
Yes, Michigan State is.
Yeah,
you mentioned Josh Hubbard, the freshman, 6'10", averaging 17 points a game for Mississippi State. Mississippi State, in a lot of ways, are a 2-man team with Hubbard and Smith, 6'11" senior, averaging 15 points a game.
Yeah.
So those 2 players are putting up a lot of Mississippi State's point. How do you see this game playing out?
I think it's going to be really interesting because I think Michigan State's going to have more depth than Mississippi State, but in a lot of ways they will mirror one another. Mississippi State has a senior forward, DJ Jeffries, who just reminds me of a bigger Malik Hall, a guy who has been often injured in his career, but has often been the X factor for how far his team can go. First when he was at Memphis and then he transferred over to Mississippi State. A lot of their success is determined on how well he plays.
DJ Jeffries is 6'7".
Yeah, he was listed at 6'10" coming out of high school, and somehow he's 6'7". It's funny how that works, right?
Okay.
It's funny how that works.
Okay, and Malik Hall is listed as 6'8".
Okay, so I guess not a bigger. Okay, well, he was listed like in high school. DJ Jeffries had the higher. Yeah, well, yeah, he had a high, but he was closer to being a McDonald's All-American, so like they propped them up a little bit differently. So I don't know. Maybe they're equal height. Who knows?
This game is being played, JJ, where?
Where is Mississippi State, Michigan State being played? You tell me.
Okay, it's being played in Charlotte,
Okay.
North Carolina. Any location advantage to either team?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it's location advantage for either team. I think it's going to be a good solid mix. I would expect Michigan State to be more present than Mississippi State, but
Okay, I'm definitely taking MSU to win the game. Who are you taking?
I like Mississippi State a lot going into the tournament, but I do think that they don't match up so well with Michigan State. Tyson Walker can kind of cancel out Josh Hubbard, I think. I'm going to take the more experience. I'm going to take Michigan State.
There will be an interesting matchup, Tyson Walker and Hubbard. Both of them don't have the super height.
No, but they have a quick first step, and Hubbard has a flamethrower. He can get hot and start.
That's true. That's
He
true.
can make threes. He can make a very bad night for you. He almost beat Kentucky single handedly.
Well, as I said, I was taking MSU, but did I say which school I was taking?
You didn't. You did not. You tried to be a little coy on that one, I think.
Well, I'm going to put it out there. I am taking Mississippi State.
Okay.
I'm taking Mississippi State. Michigan State, to me, has not been the Michigan State of old. Usually you expect Michigan State to get on a roll in March. And they played a good game against Purdue, but they haven't really I don't feel that fire that I'm usually feeling when Michigan State's playing in March. So based on that, I'm going to take Mississippi State. JJ, there's another SEC Big Ten matchup.
Okay. Which one is that?
Nebraska and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
What's your take on that one?
That's going to be a dynamic matchup. I think, the NCAA tournament, I've always said it's been about guard play. And Nebraska has a dynamic guard in Kasanga, the Japanese junior from junior college. He's like a little left-handed Steph Curry who wears number 30 in his honor, and he can get a shot off basically on anybody. So that should be a good one. And, Texas A&M, they have, Wade Taylor the fourth?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did beat Kentucky all by himself. He can, once he gets on a roll, you can't stop him. Like you can't stay in front of him. He'll get to the rim.
The game is being played in Memphis. No advantage there to anyone. I like Nebraska a lot. I've liked them all year long. My only concern with Nebraska is lack of playoff experience.
Yeah, I mean, Fred Hoiberg himself hasn't really gone that far in the tournament. His successor actually has had more success since he took Iowa State to the Elite Eight 2 years back.
So who you got in this game and why?
Nebraska versus Texas A&M. I'm gonna go with Nebraska. I do think that they have a superior coach. I don't think Texas A&M has the experience necessarily to go on a run either. I can't remember. Did Buzz Williams at Virginia Tech or Marquette ever go to an Elite Eight?
I don't know, but we're not talking about a run. We're talking about one game right now.
That's true. I mean, well, Fred Hoiberg has won one game, so I do think he's a better coach than Buzz Williams. So if we're just talking about one game, I guess we should take the higher seeded team. That's what you did with Mississippi State and Michigan State. Well, I guess we should take Nebraska with Texas A&M, right? I'm going Nebraska.
Okay, and I said earlier that I was going Nebraska. I like Nebraska all year long. It just got a lot of no quit in them. I like them a lot. JJ, let's talk about some of the other. You want to start talking with the SEC or the Big Ten?
Why don't we start talking with the SEC since they have more.
Let's go to the East region.
Okay. The region of death, as they say.
There's only one SEC team in the East region. 4 seed. Auburn will be playing Yale. Your thoughts on that game?
I would have expected Kentucky to be in that situation after they bowed out so early in the SEC tournament. But Auburn, even though they won the SEC tournament, they didn't get the fortune of beating any good teams. They didn't get to play Kentucky. They didn't get to play Tennessee because they were upset.
Yeah.
So even though they won the SEC tournament, they didn't really get to strengthen their schedule. And I think that, their reward is the hardest region in the bracket.
Yeah, they got UConn, they got Illinois, all in that bracket. Iowa State.
People were arguing whether or not Iowa State should have been 1 seed after what they did to Houston and.
Well, Clark Kellogg explained it pretty well to me. I mean, I agree with everything he said. He said their sprint of schedule did not warrant a 1 seed, and he said like it was like 300 and something. And
are we talking about out of conference strength of schedule? So
yes.
I don't care about that. I just care about overall strength of schedule. And at the end of the day, they did beat Houston. But I think out of conference strength schedule is something that lower conference teams should worry about more so than the best conference in basketball.
Well, I think it's important when you're talking number 1 seed.
Okay. You know what? I think either way, They weren't even. They were the last number 2, so they were closer to being a number 3 than number 2, which was surprising to me. But either way, it's a very difficult bracket region, I think.
Okay, Auburn JJ is going to Spokane.
Spokane.
Guess who else is going to Spokane from the SEC?
I think a lot of schools from Alabama are going to be there, but I think you're talking about Alabama
I'm
specifically.
talking about Alabama.
There's another school from Alabama that's going to be there as well.
Will they take the same plane to Spokane?
I think they might, but they'll have UAB be the buffer as they're all going to.
Interestingly, the Big Ten has no teams out west,
and they do have 4 schools from out west that are going to be joining the conference.
Exactly. But they're not playing out west. But let's go to Auburn. Auburn playing Charleston.
Charleston, they won what, 30 games this year?
27.
Okay, 27 games. Yeah.
27-7. Alabama was 21-11.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, they fell apart at the season ended. They fell apart. I don't know if I've seen a team. Alabama's a 4 seed.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've seen a 4 seed fall apart the way they did. To me, there's no way that Alabama and Auburn should both be a 4 seed. Auburn, in my mind, is heads and shoulders above Alabama.
Yeah, I mean,
That's just me.
Yeah, I think Alabama did crumble a little bit down the stretch of the season, but
A little bit, he says.
it is the entire body of work, and I believe in Nate Oates as a tournament coach.
Okay. Well, JJ, Kentucky is going to Pittsburgh to play a Michigan school.
John Calipari was born and raised in Pittsburgh, his hometown.
Oh, I did not know that. So they get to play Oakland.
Yeah, they do.
And the winner of that game gets to play the winner of Texas Tech, NC State. So,
ACC champion, NC State.
how good is Kentucky?
Good is a good question. I think they're very talented, but good. How good is Kentucky? That is the question. I think it depends on. A lot of different things, but it depends on if they want to play defense on any given night. Depends on if they're going up against a coach that can out.
Well, Kentucky has no history of playing defense this year. So will they play any defense at all this year? I mean, if they win, they're going to outscore people.
When I say defense, I mean opportune defense. You have to make stops when it matters the most,
Okay.
and that's what they're going to have to be able to. That's what they're going to have to hold their hat on.
Kentucky is the number 3 seed.
Yeah, they have one of the best offenses in the country, and when they have a 3-guard lineup of Antonio Reeves, Reed Shepard, and Rob Dillingham, that any unit with those 3 is by far and away the number 1 offensive unit in the country. It's something that other coaches have been talking about. Like Nate Oates, we're talking about how awesome it was after Kentucky ran them out of the gym, like how awesome that 3-man unit is. And 2 of those guys will be top 3 to 5 draft picks in this next year's draft.
So Kentucky does have the horses.
Well,
their recent history has not been too overwhelming.
Yeah, so their recent history in tournaments, John Calipari has been nothing short of dreadful. He hasn't made it to the second weekend since 2017, I believe.
Kentucky? I thought I'd never hear those words.
In the SEC tournament, he was 23-3 his first 9 years at Kentucky, and then since then he's went. Before this year, he was like 1-4, and in the SEC tournament. And this year, I can't remember if they won 1 game, but I know they didn't win 2.
They did not.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened, but John Calipari is a stubborn man, and he's found success in a specific way in a specific time frame, and it looks like in basketball. I don't know if it's going on without him, but he can still recruit with the best of them.
Another SEC team, yeah, he can recruit. Another SEC team, Florida, 24-11, made it to the championship game, lost to Auburn.
More importantly, lost the starting center.
Big man, yeah.
They lost their starting center in the first half of that game, and that
first
pretty much
few minutes of that game.
Yeah, that pretty much. I didn't see it. I heard it was gruesome, but I do know that without him, Florida
fractured a bone in his leg.
Yeah, Florida's chances of being successful.
Yeah. They start out against the winner of Boise State and Colorado. I think either one of those 2 schemes can potentially beat them. It's in Indianapolis.
I think it's unfair that Boise State has to play Colorado. I think Colorado's incredibly talented. I think Colorado could easily beat Boise State, and then they could go on and beat Florida.
That's what I'm saying.
But Boise State, I thought, was underseeded.
So, JJ, we got two more SEC teams to talk about.
Okay.
South Carolina. I love South Carolina. Their coach coached an assistant at Wisconsin for, about 6, 7 years. Turned South Carolina was picked to be last in the SEC. They ended up finishing 5th based on a tie-breaking situation with 3 teams. So only 2 teams actually had better conference records than South Carolina. What's your take on South Carolina? They are playing Oregon. The only matchup between a power conference and SEC schools when they're not playing the Big Ten in the first round.
Yeah. Oregon's been playing really well so far, but
we're playing in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, South Carolina has also been playing really, really well. I really don't like this for South Carolina. I am picking Oregon to beat South Carolina.
I can't.
Yeah.
So tell me why you're picking Oregon.
They have more NBA talent. They have more talent. They have better players.
Okay. Oregon, 23-11.
Mm-hmm.
South Carolina, 26-7.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. I think South Carolina.
Well, South Carolina's a 6 seed. Oregon's an 11 seed for a reason. Yeah.
I think South Carolina played in a tougher conference. So yeah, let's go to the best seeded team in the SEC.
But which team do you think is playing better right now? The team that almost made it to their conference championship game in Oregon, or
South Carolina?
Or South Carolina? Yeah.
I would take South Carolina every
Okay.
day. But that's just me. Let's go to the highest rated SEC team in the conference, in the tournament. Tennessee. 1 a seed, 2 a seed, Tennessee. It's March, JJ. What happened to Tennessee in March? Well, historically,
they top out at going to an Elite 8, and they have never been past that. So that's what I would say. They've only been to an Elite 8, I think, maybe once. Did Bruce Pearl take them there?
I think he did.
Okay, I know they've been to an Elite 8. I know they have not been to a Final Four. But I can't remember how many times they've been to Elite 8, but it's not more than twice. I know that.
Man, until they prove it, I can't buy them. But I can buy them against St. Peter's. St. Peter's had a big old run a couple years ago.
They did have a big old run a couple years ago. They don't have their coach or any of those players anymore. But yeah, they did go to an Elite 8, which
Okay, JJ. Of these, St. Peter's went to an Elite 8. Of the SEC teams, tell me which one's going to get out of week 1. Auburn against Yale. Will they get out of week 1?
Sorry, Yale. Your Bulldogs will be 1 and done in the tournament.
Okay. Mississippi State against Michigan. Big game.
Michigan State.
You already told me that. So they won't get out of the week 1. Alabama, Charleston, and then potentially St. Mary's or Grand Canyon if they win. Well, they get out of week 1, Alabama.
I like Alabama to beat Charleston.
I like Alabama to get out of week 1 as well. Let's go to Nebraska. I'm sorry, Texas A&M, who's playing Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
You had Nebraska winning that, and so did I.
Okay.
So that means they won't get out of week 1. The next one's Kentucky. Kentucky's Oakland and possibly Texas Tech or NC State. Will Kentucky get out of week 1?
Yeah, Kentucky should be able to beat Oakland.
Okay. Florida, without their big man, we both said they would lose the first game. So they will not get out of week 1. South Carolina and Oregon, you said they were going to lose to Oregon, so they will not get out of week 1.
I do not have South Carolina, no.
Okay, Tennessee and St. Peter's. And then potentially Texas, UVA, and Colorado State.
Yeah, so I do have Tennessee being St. Peter's, just to wrap everything up. Now let's transition over to the Big Ten.
Very good.
Okay.
Northwestern.
Yeah, so the Big Ten does have 6 teams. Northwestern is in what region? They're in the East region.
They're in the East.
And who are they matched up against?
Northwestern is matched up against FAU. FAU 26-8, Northwestern 21-11.
A very overseeded Florida Atlantic. I thought at an 8 seed. I thought they might want to be one of the last 4 teams in.
Playing in Brooklyn.
Playing in Brooklyn. I think Florida Atlantic has all of the players back from last year's team. They had the same players that beat Arizona by 20. I like Florida Atlantic to get by Northwestern.
Okay.
Yeah.
Illinois, Morehead State.
I haven't watched Morehead State play basketball this year.
26-8. Neither have I.
I
So
honestly don't know
you're
too
taking
much.
Illinois. So
I'm gonna take Illinois.
A 3 seed.
I'm gonna take Illinois.
Okay, Illinois versus BYU or DeQueen.
Duquesne or BYU?
Duquesne, yeah.
Um.
So we got them out of the first round against Morehead.
Okay, so
State.
we're going into the I do have them beating.
So they will get out of the second round.
Yeah, I do have them beating BYU.
This is a good one. The next one is a good one, JJ.
Okay.
Michigan State. We already got them. You already have them beating Mississippi State. Howard Wagner winner versus North Carolina. North Carolina's a 1 seed. Michigan State's a 9 seed.
Oh yeah. So Michigan State versus North Carolina. Oh, I'm sorry. You led with Howard. I was confused. So yeah, I have Michigan State beating North Carolina.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you got Michigan State beating North Carolina. So
I do.
Tom Izzo pulling his magic again, according to JJ.
I do think that they match up well. I think that Tyson Walker has the horsepower to go toe to toe with RJ Davis, even though RJ Davis was a first-team All-American this year.
I do think North Carolina is the weakest of the 1 seeds. That's me. 3 more Big Ten teams, JJ. Nebraska. We both had them beating Texas A&M, but then if they beat that in Memphis, they would hook up against Houston or Longwood. Will they get out of week 1?
No, Houston will be handling Nebraska. So we didn't do any of this for the SEC teams. Are we going to go back and do this for the SEC teams?
I think we did.
We did not. We only talked about the first game. We don't have time. Okay.
Okay. Well, no, we'll just do the Big Ten.
Okay.
Wisconsin, JJ, and James Madison in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Didn't James Madison beat Michigan State first game of the season this year?
They did.
James Madison is 31-3.
Yeah, they're one of the three 31 teams to make it to the tournament. This year.
Wisconsin was on a roll. They played decently in the Big Ten tournament. Almost pulled it off. Well, I don't know about almost pulled it off, but they made it to the championship game.
Yeah.
James Madison, Wisconsin, game 1, 5-12.
Yeah, that should be a really good matchup this year. I mean, James Madison will have the confidence. They've already beaten a Big Ten team this season. I think that Wisconsin matches up really well with James Madison, however, and I would anticipate Wisconsin beating them.
That 5-12 matchups always has an upset. So I'm going with the upset in that 5.
I just believe in Chucky Hepburn and AJ Storr too much.
I agree. They're good.
Mm-hmm.
They're good. The last of the Big Ten schools, JJ, number 1 seed, Purdue, going up against the winner of Montana State, Grambling. We got them winning that in the first game, right?
I would be shocked if they went back-to-back losses to a 16 seed. That's never happened before. Still,
and we know what happened last year with Fairleigh Dickinson.
Yeah,
lost 1 against the 16, and they lost. Okay, JJ, given they beat the 16 seed this year, Utah State 27-6 in Indianapolis against Purdue. That's like a home game for Purdue.
Yeah, I don't have Utah State making it that far.
Oh, you don't? You have TCU beating them.
I absolutely have Jamie Dixon and TCU.
I'm sorry,
but
I just made assumptions.
Yeah,
I got Utah State winning that game.
I watched Utah State a lot. I think that they did a remarkable job. They had a first-year head coach who took them to the tournament. Last year they made it to the tournament too, and their coach left for a better job, and he stepped in, and he's gotten it done for Utah State. So I respect what they did, but I do have TCU losing to Purdue in this era.
Purdue, they're in the same bracket in the Midwest with Tennessee. They beat Tennessee earlier this year, and so they could potentially meet up again. Purdue is a 1 seed, Tennessee is a 2 seed. If they meet up again, JJ,
They were supposed to.
What?
If their seating aligns, they're supposed to meet up. Yeah.
If they meet up for a second time this year,
yeah.
What's your take?
We'll talk about that when they meet up.
Okay. JJ, I want to talk about one team.
Okay.
that's neither an SEC or a Big Ten. McNeese State. We talked about the 30-win teams. 30 and 3. They're going up against Gonzaga. This is another 5-12 matchup.
Yeah, coached by Will Wade,
Yeah.
who just got an extension for a 5-year extension.
Yeah.
He runs a very complicated and complex offense that seems to be working for them this year.
You know, this is not saying a lot, but McNeese State did beat Michigan earlier this year.
Yeah, it's not saying much. Although St. John's lost to Michigan too. Yeah, you know, McNeese State, I don't know. I can't tell you the name of any one of their players. I have watched them play this year. I do like Will Wade. I think he's a really good coach. I think he's one of those coaches that didn't need to cheat. I think I think he just, you know, I think it's kind of like Barry Bonds when it comes to steroids, where it's like he didn't need to do it, but, you know, he did it anyway. I think I do believe in his acumen as a coach, and I do think McNeese State has some of the guys to make it close. Gonzaga is not the Gonzaga of old. I think they're overseeded as a 5.
I thought so as well.
I mean, they were on the bubble just a week ago. So,
Well, JJ, we've gone through all the teams. Give me your Final Four. If you've, and I know it's subject to change, but if you have a Final Four,
okay.
give it to me now, and let me know what's going to happen.
It's an all Big Final Four. No
Okay.
SEC to be found. 2 Big Ten teams, 2 Big East teams.
Talk to me. Holla at me.
I have UConn beating Michigan State in one Final Four,
Wow.
and Purdue beating Marquette in another.
Wow. If Michigan State make it to the Elite Eight, that means they got to go to LA.
Okay.
And you said UConn losing to Michigan State. Is that what you said? I was looking at my
No,
notes.
I don't have UConn losing to Michigan State. I have UConn beating Michigan State.
Okay, UConn beating Michigan State. And on the other side, you have
Purdue beating Marquette.
interesting.
It's the Big East versus Big
So-
Ten affair.
Last year there were no number 1 seeds out there. This year you got
2.
Okay. I found 4 in Glendale, Arizona. I got Illinois playing Baylor.
Okay. Add Illinois in my Elite 8.
Say again?
I had Illinois in my Elite 8.
Okay.
I don't have Baylor going near that far.
In the Dallas region,
Okay.
I have Houston staying at home in Texas, playing. Get this one, JJ. This is the upset of the year. This is the upset. Playing South Carolina.
Stranger things have happened. I mean, Florida Atlantic and South Dakota and San Diego State made the Final Four last year, right?
Yeah, they did. Tell me about my championship game, Baylor and Houston.
Well, I mean, it'd be an all Texas final. That would be something. Are those the only 2 schools? I know Baylor has won a championship. Did Houston ever win a championship? I guess they didn't with Clyde and Hakeem. They went to the Final Four like 2 or 3 times, but they never won, did they?
I'm trying to remember if they did back when I think they lost to UCLA in a championship game.
In like 1968 or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I mean, Baylor. So if that were to happen, that would be really, really interesting. Baylor versus Houston.
And your championship game is UConn against Purdue.
Yeah, 1 versus a 1. Chalk. The 2, I think, are they the 2 highest overall seeds in the con? I know UConn's the number 1 overall seed.
They got the 2 tallest players in the tournament close to it.
Yeah, that should be a matchup for behold. But
Okay. Are you ready for it to get started, JJ?
I'm ready for it to begin. I'm ready to be in front of a TV Thursday, watching all of the games at noon.
Michigan State's the first one.
First one, I can't wait. I'm excited.
That's going to be a great one. That's it for me, JJ.
Yeah, it's a little bit long one, so I guess we'll get out of here. But until then, go Western Kentucky.
All right. I'll just say go Michigan State, even though I got them losing the first game. But I can't talk about that team down south in Fayetteville, so I'll just say go Michigan State. Peace. Out. out.